Welcome back to Horror Movies.
In a few seconds, you're going to listen to a frightening tale narrated by me. Fear awaits you. Watch out and take care. A boy walks out of a cellar and notices a lot of bodies dismembered on the road. It is a memory from one of the earliest survivors, Victor. Julie wakes up to find Victor watching her. He talks to her and shows his drawing. Julie finds Victor to be suspicious, and she is alert against him. One of the girls from the colony house asks for her pillow back from Julie. Julie finds the shirt on the girl familiar and learns the girl took the shirt out of Julie's suitcase without asking. This upsets Julie, but she tries to keep it cool. Sheriff finds Frank's body in the box and is repelled by the mess. He starts to clean up. Sarah comes to the diner for work and finds Mrs. Lou crying for her husband again. The Matthews family struggle to adjust to their new house and life. Ethan wakes up and asks for pancakes, so Jim takes Ethan to the diner. Sheriff transports the body to the burial area and disrespects Father Cautry when he is asked if he will be joining the service. He reminds Father Cautry that it was him who wanted Frank punished. When Kenny finds Jade, he is sitting near the cellar. He insists he saw a man crushed by a massive stone and a symbol on the ceiling, but Kenny is unconvinced. Kenny begs Jade to accompany him to the sheriff's office because he wants to show Jade something. Victor enters the diner and finds Ethan. He lets Ethan know that the trees moved 4 inches. Victor shows a crayon drawing of a boy and asks whether this is the boy he saw in the woods, to which Ethan agrees. Jim is scared to see Victor conversing with Ethan and warns him. Ethan is heartbroken that Jim was upset with Victor talking to him. Tabitha finds Julie's sweater and walks to the colony house. When Tabitha asks Julie to return, Julie flips and claims she doesn't want the family to stay together. It turns out that it was their last journey as a family because Tabitha and Jim were contemplating divorce following the death of their other son, Thomas. Kenny shows Jade a map in the sheriff's office that demonstrates how each of the residents were traveling on different roads in different states but ended up in this town. Jade believes it's impossible and wants to learn the truth about the place, but Kenny believes he'll go insane trying to uncover the truth. As Kenny explains, the radio next to him begins to produce static noises. Jade grabs the radio and walks away. In the house, Tabitha and Jim are arguing when Victor finds Ethan. He takes Ethan to the woods and explains that they need to find the boy in white. When Ethan asks why, Victor says that Ethan is the chosen one just like when Victor was once chosen. Father Cautry comforts Sheriff while he is repairing the punishment box. He reminds Sheriff how he discovered the stones that protected the residents and created a system in the town where people could properly live. Victor and Ethan talk about families when suddenly they spot the boy in white and secretly follow him. After fighting for a while, Jim and Tabitha return home and finally realize Ethan is missing. Both panic when Jim finds Ethan's crutch abandoned in the back of the house. Ethan and Victor find a tree with a hole in the center. Victor takes a stone, paints a smiley face on it, and throws it inside. The stone drops down from the sky. According to Victor, people can also be teleported, but it is unclear where they will end up. Victor is suddenly reminded of his recollections as he hears a dog barking. Jim and Tabitha were searching in the woods when they heard the dogs. Worried that Ethan is in danger, they rush towards the sound and find Ethan with Victor. Victor fires the gun to get the dogs to leave. He runs back to his residence and begins looking through his drawings. He recognizes the dogs from his memories. He starts to arrange his drawings to match his recollection. Jim meets with Sheriff and discusses Victor and how he kidnapped Ethan. He also discusses Victor's gun, which he keeps in his lunchbox. Sheriff agrees to speak with Donna and plans a meal with the Matthews family to get to know them better. In the colony house, Fatima shows Julie her new sleeping arrangements, making her happy. Sheriff and the Matthews family dine at the diner. Kenny interrupts them because he needs to show Sheriff something urgent. As Sheriff departs, Tabitha and Jim make amends over their morning altercation. Jim apologizes for not expressing his actual emotions and admits that he is at a loss for what to do in the current scenario. In the meantime, Sarah becomes aware of something racing through her veins. Writings appear on her arms that say, "Kill the boy." She panics, becoming dizzy and beginning to have a seizure. Everyone in the diner gathers to assist her. It turns out Victor is digging holes near the colony house at the same time. Donna confronts Victor about his actions, to which he responds that he wants a head start. Nathan, who was working on his farm, learns about Sarah. Christy informs Sheriff that Sarah will be staying with her for the night. Sheriff talks with Sarah about the possibility of the town giving Sarah and Ethan seizures. Sarah comments that everything is possible in this town. While attempting to enter the facility, Nathan meets Sheriff, who informs Sarah's well-being and asks Nathan to leave. That night, Sarah and Christy discuss their loved ones when Christy reveals that she had a fiancé. Sarah asks Christy if she would ever do a horrible thing to help everyone go home. Christy says that she would take the chance if one bad thing can help others. Jim, Tabitha, and Ethan write questions on the wall in the house. Jim believes they are missing something and writing down questions will help them realize it. Jade, on the other hand, has been attempting to make the radio work. Jade cannot accept his fate and is enraged by how normal people are behaving. Ethan is healing fast, which surprises Tabitha. Ethan talks about how one of the questions on the wall can be if anyone is trying to help them. Sarah visits Ethan intending to fulfill her mission. In the colony house, everyone goes to a lake nearby for a fun swim. When Julie asks Fatima why she is always so bright and smiling, Fatima talks about her life before the town. Back in the house, Sarah and Ethan are playing outside. Watching over them, Tabitha tells Jim that Sarah is a nice girl. After talking for some time, Sarah suggests taking Ethan to visit the chickens at Nathan's farm. She tries to have alone time with Ethan, but Tabitha says she is not busy and tags along. Sheriff pays a visit to his late wife Abby's grave. He tells her that his hand is shaking like his father's, indicating that he doesn't have much time left to live. He also mentions an idea that could help everyone in town to go back home. Nathan looks for Father Khatri, who is sitting in the meadow surrounded by stones. Nathan wishes to confess and inquires if his confession would be kept private. Nathan admits to Sarah's actions in the clinic and her plans to harm Ethan. Father Khatri thinks Nathan should have confessed sooner as they rush to find Sarah. Sarah takes Tabitha and Ethan to Nathan's farm. She describes how things were different before the stones were discovered. When it got dark, people had to hide, hoping that the monsters wouldn't find them. She claims that there are various hiding places across town, including one in the barn behind them. As Tabitha follows Sarah to the hideout, Sarah locks her inside. Nathan and Father Khatri search the diner for Sarah. He discovers that she has taken Tabitha and Ethan to the farm. Meanwhile, Sheriff notices Father Khatri outside the diner and inquires as to how he would know if God showed him a sign or not. This question astounds Father Khatri. Now with Tabitha out of the way, Sarah takes her scalpel out and approaches Ethan. She apologizes repeatedly, saying that she really liked him. Before Sarah could harm Ethan, Nathan stops Sarah. Ethan kicks her and escapes while Nathan holds Sarah from behind. She tries to free herself and accidentally slits Nathan's throat. Nathan keeps bleeding out when Father Khatri finds them. Ethan runs to find Julie in the colony house. Jim, along with many others, rush to the farm after hearing the news. Hearing Tabitha's voice from the barn, Jim frees her. She tells Jim to search for Ethan. Ethan, along with Ellis, Fatima and Julie, come to the farm in search of Jim and Tabitha. Father Khatri lets everyone know that he tried to pursue Sarah but she escaped. Jim is enraged at how Sarah tried to kill Ethan and ridicules Sheriff for calling this town a family. Tabitha writes a question on the wall that says, "Did we survive the crash?" Christy is sad that she couldn't help Nathan. She talks to Sheriff about how Sarah kept asking weird questions that night. Christy feels guilty and responsible for whatever has happened, as her answer that night might have encouraged Sarah's behavior. Sheriff and Kenny bury Nathan while Father Khatri does his sermon to calm the people of the town. Julie sees Victor making grave-like holes and is scared of him. Tabitha finds some papers filled with Bible verses while packing the old family stuff. She goes to the church to hand over the papers and asks Father if they are dead or alive. According to Father Khatri, such a question would just make her doubt herself and would not help her predicament. Tabitha asks Father Khatri if he believes Sarah survived the night, to which he responds that it is unlikely. After Tabitha leaves, Father Khatri goes down to the basement where Sarah is tied up in a chair. Sheriff and Kenny talk about Sarah and how Mrs. Lou thought of her as a daughter. Sheriff introduces the idea of taking the stones and traveling deeper into the forest to find a way out. Kenny is upset upon hearing the plan and leaves. In the house, Jim has uncovered some real secrets. He opened the wires of the lamps and found that the outlets and wires don't have any real wiring. This makes the electricity in the house impossible to operate. As he explains the discovery to Tabitha, Jade enters their house with a lot of things in his arms. He asks Jim to help him with something and proceeds to explain what he thinks. He also had discovered the wires with just the shell and no real wiring. Sarah is trapped in the basement and Father Khatri talks about how there is not a single copy of the Bible in town. He tells her that she deserves to be in the box for her deeds, however, she can still help the people. Julie finds some flowers on the porch and takes them inside. Fatima is surprised that someone has left flowers arranged on the porch. Jade and Jim try to gather some supplies from Jade's car, however they notice the battery missing. Tabitha and Ethan go to the diner to store the belongings of the previous household. It turns out that the belongings of those who have gone for good are stored in storage. While Tabitha and Ethan are talking, she notices a bracelet. Jim and Jade locate a very tall tree where they can place the antenna in order to receive a signal. Jim becomes furious at the arrogant remarks and attempts to leave, telling Jade that he should handle everything alone. Jade promptly apologizes and sincerely requests help as he is afraid of heights. Jim is taken aback when Jade says he asked for Jim's help in order to ask him to climb the tree. Meanwhile, Sheriff Boyd visits the clinic to talk to Christy and heads to the basement when he can't find Christy anywhere. Sheriff is reminded of Mr. Liu, who was found in the basement. Christy comes down with her basket of laundry and finds Sheriff looking for her. He inquires if she knows anything about what's going on with Kenny. He asks how Kenny is holding up ever since his father's demise. According to Christy, Kenny tries to be the person that everyone needs him to be and especially doesn't want to let Sheriff down. She understands that Sheriff wants to prepare Kenny for the worst and plans for Kenny to take over his position if anything is ever to happen to him, but she also emphasizes that Kenny looks up to Sheriff as a father figure. Sheriff finally realizes what made Kenny upset and how he should approach the situation. He thanks Christy for her help and leaves. In the basement of the makeshift church, Sarah is listening to Father Kotri talking about how the Book of God comprises 73 books. He claims that while the Bible is full of goodness, it also contains evil. According to Father Kotri, they are living the 74th book and insists Sarah to tell him all about the voices she keeps hearing. In the house, Tabitha and Ethan notice the lamp keeps turning on and off, so Tabitha plans to play a little game called Where Do the Lights Come From? She takes a hammer and smashes it into the wall, which surprises Ethan. Meanwhile, Jim continues to climb the tree while Jade prepares the wires on the ground. As Jade keeps an eye out, he notices blood dripping down the tree. When he looks up, he notices a lot of severed body parts hanging from the tree's branches. The blood rains down and he gets soaked in it. He also finds the same symbol in the tree that he saw in the cellar. He looks behind to find a strange-looking man in a military uniform walking towards him. Jade tries to run away when the strange man starts shooting. However, the man catches up and stabs Jade in the chest. Jim finds Jade in the woods and says whatever he is seeing is not real. Sarah talks to Father Kotri about the voices she keeps hearing. She believes the voices know a way out of this place and they claim to be trapped for years just like them. According to Sarah, the voices predicted 2 cars arriving on the same day, and so it happened. Sarah says that the voices have been waiting for someone to hear them. Father Kotri seems to be believing Sarah and plans to find evidence that shows that Sarah is not crazy but rather a soul connected to this place. Suddenly, Sarah starts to scream in pain. She keeps saying no as if something bad is about to happen. She asks Father Kotri for a paper because the voices want to show Father Kotri something. Jim returns to the tree and aligns the signals, trying to catch any frequencies from other receivers. Jade runs to the diner. Mrs. Liu brings him some tea and notices that he is scribbling something. Mrs. Liu takes one of the papers and goes to the storage. Jade follows her and finds the storage where Mrs. Liu is looking for something among boxes from 1972. She shows him a diary with the same symbol as the one he drew. Meanwhile, Sarah draws something that the voices tell her to. The voices claim that they've watched Father Kotri arrive at the place and bury the bag, which is enough to prove they are real. Father Kotri is shocked that someone knows about it. Sheriff is trying to make up with Kenny and invites him for a game. Kenny is uninterested and refuses the offer. Left with no choice, Sheriff tells him that he has Parkinson's just like his father and won't be able to help the people of the town for much longer. Sheriff also promises that if Kenny is not ready to let him go, he won't leave. Jim comes home and finds that Tabitha and Ethan are in the basement digging something. When he asks what she is doing, Tabitha replies that she is trying to find the origin of the electricity. She claims that as she followed the wires, they went straight down to the ground. Seeing Tabitha so fixated, Jim asks the real reason for her curiosity. Tabitha asks Jim if he remembers the bracelet she made for him with his father's bootlaces. He recalls losing them in the hospital when Julie was born. Tabitha shows Jim the bracelet she found in the diner storage area. Jim is skeptical that it is the same bracelet and laughs it off. Tabitha shows him the mistake she made, which proves that it is the same bracelet. She claims that they can't figure out how the bracelet got here, but they can figure out how and where the electric lines go. So, Jim joins Tabitha for the digging. Father Khatri rushes to the meadow surrounded by the stones and starts digging in the center. He retrieves a bag that has a shirt with a priest collar drenched in blood. He also retrieves a chocolate bar and matches Sarah's drawn picture with the bar's wrapper. He realizes that Sarah can't know, as it was a complete secret. That night, in the colony house, a boy opens the window and sees a girl standing outside holding flowers. It turns out that she has been leaving the flowers on the porch. She conveys how much she loves the bouquet and asks the boy when she can come inside. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.